Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to welcome everyone today. It's great to see so many staff, faculty, and students here today. My name is John McGowan, Career Center Coordinator here at the main campus, and I will serve as moderator for today's presentation by Dr. Sunser. I would like to welcome everyone, students, staff, faculty, and all of our campus centers to the first of 6 Employer Skills Development Series workshops titled today, Professionalism, Ethics, and Leadership, featuring our very own Dr. James Sunser, President of Genesee Community College. Before we get started with today's program, I would just like to review a few logistical items. First and foremost is, as a matter of respect and courtesy for all attendees, please turn off all your cell phone and any electronic devices. I will also ask everyone to wait until the end of Dr. Sunser's presentation to ask questions, as we have included roughly about 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A time. At the end, please ask questions, raise your hand, and a faculty or staff member will assist you with a microphone. For safety purposes, please be aware of emergency exits on either side of the lecture hall. And again, if any students here need to turn in any type of credit or extra credit, verification of attendance, please make sure you touch base with your faculty member or staff member to do that. And we're actually going to have some coupons available for students receiving extra credit right in career services at the conclusion of the presentation. So if you do need credit, stop in the office anytime today. So today, you're probably curious on what is professionalism, ethics, and leadership. And one of the key items that we really wanted to convey to you all today, and Dr. Sunser to express to all of you today, is really the components of professionalism, ethics, and leadership. Not sure if all of you are aware, or any of you are aware, that through our National Association for College and Employers, recent research data has validated what we continuously hear at conferences across the state and nationwide. 3 workplace skills ranked by importance are communication, work strong ethic, leadership, and professionalism. What does that mean? Well, 37.5% indicate half of college graduates display professionalism at work. So that really means 63-something% they have some work to do. And as college graduates, as potential and prospective graduates entering the world of work, some of the skills that you're going to be hearing today are really critical to close the gap between employer skills that are expected and what you're actually going to be learning as a college graduate. Part of professionalism is really work ethic, sense of entitlement, lack of motivation, and lack of respect. So what I mean by that is those areas right there, those are some of the concerns that employers really do have entering the world of work. So, as you're going through your college career, some of you might go right into the world of work and find a job. Some of you might go on to a transfer institution, higher education level. But always be continuously trying to work on the areas of work ethic, just a sense of professionalism that you display at work ethics. And we just had a fall career workshop. And for example, a couple employers stopped by and they actually expressed some interest in, so what are your students learning for skills of today? How do we get students to show up for work on time and to display good work ethics? So again, those are some of the key areas and components that Dr. Sunser will share with you today. And again, if you do have questions, make sure, like anything else, class lessons, take notes. And again, pretty much the end of the program, at least the last 15 to 20 minutes, we'll entertain questions for all of you. So, without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of our very own students right here at Genesee Community College, Maki Corduroy, who will provide an introduction of our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. James Sunser. So please, a warm welcome for Maki.
Today, I'm very excited to introduce someone who started out his career much like the rest of us. A native of Syracuse, Dr. Sunser is a graduate of Onondaga Community College. In addition, Dr. Sunser holds a bachelor's degree from Syracuse University, a master's degree from SUNY Brockport, a certificate of advanced study from the University of Rochester, and a doctorate of education from the University of Rochester. Having served in several professional administrative positions at Onondaga Community College, Dr. Sunser was instrumental in a number of initiatives that resulted in him receiving the SUNY Chancellor's Award for Excellence in Professional Service. On August 1st, 2011, Dr. Sunser began his tenure as the first president of GCC, and he brings with him a wealth of knowledge that he is going to share today. As president of Genesee, Dr. Sunser leads a college that has achieved national acclaim for excellence and innovation. Today, Dr. Sunser will share key factors of success in the area of professionalism, ethics, and leadership, which will make you a more well-rounded individual when you continue on in your college career or enter the workforce. Over the course of his life, Dr. Sunser has always stepped up to take on leadership roles, studying in high school and continuing on through his college career. He takes full advantage of every opportunity he is presented, because that is how you improve your skills through experience. Dr. Sunser has been through some of the best leadership programs in the country, include the Cornell University Leadership Program, Harvard University's Leadership Program, and the SUNY Executive Leadership Program. Today, he will bring the knowledge he learned through these programs and his own personal experiences together to help each of us grow into better leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me introduce Dr. James Sunser.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to be here today. As I hear that introduction, it strikes me that, gosh, I've had a lot of opportunity, a lot of education over the years. Hopefully I'm getting some of it right. But the fact that you're here today says a lot to me already. The fact that you have free time and you choose to use that to come and spend some time and to develop yourself further speaks volumes for you and for where you are and for where you want to be in your lives. So I commend you for taking the time to be here, and I hope that this presentation gives you some things to think about going forward. And I hope that you understand that we at this college take very seriously our role. As my introduction stated, I'm a community college graduate myself. I can promise you that if there was not a community college that I had the chance to attend, I would not be standing here as the president of this college. I came from a background as a first-generation college student where financially, even though academically my sisters and I did pretty well, financially we really didn't have the ability to go to a college right from high school that we could afford other than our community college. And I went from Onondaga Community College, which was the local community college in my area that I grew up in, to Syracuse University. And I can tell you that the experience I had at Onondaga not only prepared me well to be successful at Syracuse and then SUNY Brockport and then at the University of Rochester, but prepared me as well as any of those institutions. I received a first-rate education from an extremely talented faculty and from a support staff around that institution that truly cared about students first and foremost. And I didn't realize at the time how fortunate I was to be involved with people that had chosen education in a sense of teaching and learning to be their focus, as opposed to maybe another institution like Syracuse or Rochester, where equally important, but maybe a different kind of focus on things like research. Being around faculty and staff that care about teaching and learning above everything else, and that put your success in helping you be successful academically and for the rest of your life as their priority, as their focus, is a tremendous gift that you all have in front of you. The faculty and staff of this college are extremely intelligent, extremely talented people that have a lot of options professionally as to how they want to spend their time. And that's a little bit of what we'll talk about later on around professionalism, ethics, and leadership. You're working to improve yourself to become a person that can contribute, but also that has options. And if you find yourself surrounded with people that have those kind of options and choose to be a part of an institution like this, and choose to dedicate their lives to helping you advance through your life more successfully, I encourage you, be mindful of that. Think about your surroundings. Think about all the resources in terms of the people that are here to support you, and take advantage of it. Put them through the paces. This faculty and staff are at the top that you'll see at any institution in the State University of New York. So take advantage of that and help use their experiences and their willingness to support you as a way to really springboard to a terrific future for you professionally and personally. With that said, let's talk a little bit about the topic at hand: professionalism, ethics, and leadership. I'm going to touch on these briefly, but I want to make sure that there's enough time for you to ask questions, because I think that that will hopefully make it more instructive for all of you and make it a more meaningful experience. I'll give you a little idea in terms of some background. I've been involved in higher education for nearly 30 years. I know it's hard to believe when you look at me. I look like a kid. But nearly 30 years in higher education, and for part of that time, I spent an awful lot of time working with business and industry and finding out what it is they believe they need from our graduates to help their companies be successful. Make no mistake about it. They want to be successful. They want to do things to support the community, but they have some parochial interest as well. They want people that they can bring in that are going to support their businesses so that those businesses can thrive. And one of the things that they look at that Mr. McGowan was talking about is professionalism. And over those nearly 30 years of talking to people, companies like National Grid, Trump Industries, we're just talking to some local folks. I just left a meeting with a number of local leaders. What those companies want at times may seem simple, but you'd be surprised how often they can't find it. And around professionalism, the types of things that they want and that you should focus on in your academic endeavors are, they want people that can communicate in written and verbally. So they want people that can process, that can think critically, that can not only memorize information, and that's one of the big differences between when you were in high school and when you're in college. In high school, there's a lot of learning data, learning information, and having a general command of that. But once you get to college, one of the things you're expected to do is to think critically, to ask questions. Not only what is it, but why is it? They want people that can think on that level. They want people that are dependable. You know, to me, I've always been struck by this. I grew up in a house where if I wasn't up by 6 o'clock in the morning, my father was, rattling my door and saying, you're sleeping through the best part of the day. And as much as I love my father who's passed away, I can tell you that still to this day, I'm not sure I quite agree with him on that one. But, but being up, being present, getting into the office or into the work site on time, and being there when they need you to be there, that's going to make an impression. That's professionalism, being dependable. Productivity. They want folks that are productive, that the time that they're there is time well spent, that it advances the goals of that organization. And they want people that can work in teams well. Now, in this generation, a lot of things have happened around technology advancements. And we have more access to more information at our fingertips now than you could have had in a lifetime of learning 2 generations ago. But there's some negatives that go along with that as well. There's studies that say the attention span for folks is maybe shorter than it used to be. There's studies that say our ability to communicate personally back and forth perhaps suffers to some degree because of our dependence on technology. I sat years ago in a car with my family, driving to a vacation, and having one of my boys sending a text message to another boy in the same car. Okay? The technology is great, but you can't let that subvert your ability to work well with people on a personal level. Connections and being able to build relationships is going to be very important. And while some of that technology can support that idea and it can foster that, it's not a substitute for being able to sit down face-to-face with people and communicate clearly. So make sure that you're paying attention to those issues. So again, when I go out and I talk to companies, or more importantly, when they come and they talk to me about what do they want to see from the graduates of our institution, they're going to help them be successful and help their companies going forward. They want people that can communicate, written and verbal. They want people that are going to be dependable. And they want people that can work with other folks effectively. They want people that can think critically and can process information, make meaning of that information, and use that to help with decision making. So those are some things around professionalism that you should be thinking about when you're out there looking at your next moves career-wise. I'll tell you a story about a gentleman that I worked with many years ago, a student. One of the nicest guys I ever want to meet. You could see that there was potential there. You could see that this student had a little bit of that quality. He was an accomplished basketball player, had been a veteran, returned to college, played on a national championship basketball team at my former institution. Just had certain things. But one of the things that he came to me and talked about is we developed a relationship over the years. I got to know him. We were friendly. And he said, Jim, if I were to go in for a job interview and I went dressed like I am, people might not even take me seriously. And I said, Nate, if I went into a job interview with all of my background and I was dressed the way you are now, I promise you they wouldn't take me seriously either. It's not you, it's how you present yourself. And you have to make that good first impression. You have to make sure. Look, remember, these folks are in it for themselves. And when they select you or hire you, as much as you might be a great person, there's a little parochial interest. They're doing it because they think you can help them. And that first impression is incredibly important. Keep that in the back of your mind. Keep in the back of your mind that along with all that technology, with all that information that's out there, everybody's reading it. So when you've got your Facebook page or your Twitter account or whatever it is you may think is so important to express at that point, other people are going to be looking at that. Potential employers are going to do background checks that include a review of those types of things. You're commemorating your thoughts and your ideas out there in space for everybody to take a look at. So be aware, people will look into those things, and how you make that first impression is going to be important to how you're going to be able to go forward. Whether or not they're going to believe that investing in you is an investment in their company themselves. So professional treatment. I'm not saying you can't have a good time. I'm not saying you can't enjoy each other, but just think about it. Somebody told me years ago, and it was good advice. Don't put something in an email. This is before we had Twitter or whatever else. But don't put something in an email or a letter that you wouldn't be comfortable seeing published in the local paper with your name on it. Because you might think it's just you, it's just your friends, but believe me, it's not. We do background checks for all of our employees on all those types of things, because what we do here at this college, we believe, is tremendously important. And I have no interest in bringing people to this college that I don't believe are going to support how important I believe what we do is, and what we are here to do in terms of serving all of you. So just keep in mind, professionalism. People will be checking on the things that you present to them that day, but they'll go deeper. If it's a company you want to be associated with, if it's a place where there's a future, they're going to do a little digging into your background to figure out who exactly you are before they make an investment of bringing you in. Let's talk about ethics now for a second. Ethics are incredibly important. There are things that you want to do in the way you conduct yourself around being an ethical person. And again, this is with relation to your professional life going forward. You want to be moral. Okay? Again, I go back to my own experiences. I can remember my father telling me when I was growing up, there's an old saying, treat people the way you'd like to be treated yourself. Well, my father knew me pretty well. And he knew that there were times in my life where I really didn't care all that much how people were treating me. I was going to be out there, if I was on a basketball court or if I was in a football game, I was going to be pretty hard charging about what I did, and I didn't mind if people were hard charging and maybe even a little borderline questionable about the way they would hit me or deal with me. That was okay with me. So my father used to say, instead of treat people the way you'd want to be treated yourself, he'd say, treat people the way you want your mother and your sisters to be treated. Because that to me was more important. How other people that I cared about were treated was more important to me than the way I was treated. So be moral about your decision making and think about how the way you work with people, how you would like to see that in return for somebody you care about. And that'll help sometimes. Take a step back, think about your decisions, think about how you're conducting yourself, and try to think about how would I like it if somebody I felt close to was being treated that way. Think about the greater good. Once you get that position and you're into that company, if you're thinking about more than just how things affect you personally, if you're thinking about how what you do, how you conduct yourself is impacting the overall organization and that overall organization's goals, then people will notice that. People will see that. And people will gravitate towards people that can do more and will think more than the immediate need. It probably goes without saying, but be honest. You have to be honest with people. It doesn't mean you have to be cruel. It doesn't mean that you have to be difficult. But you should always be honest. And you can take the time when you're dealing with people to explain what you're thinking and why. And help provide some context. Help provide that lens. Construct, when we talk about in education and conveying messages, everybody has their own lens that they look through when they see a situation or subject. So everything I do, every day I do it, is influenced by my life, by my life's experiences. I grew up in a way that's unique to me and only me. And everything I do is with that backdrop. So I can't presume that people are going to be on the same page as I am when we're having a conversation. So sometimes you have to share with people what your background is so that you can help them see that lens that's shaping your thinking. But above all, you have to be honest. Loyalty is incredibly important. It's tough professionally in these days. In a world where we tell students on a regular basis, you could have 6, 7, 8, 9 career changes over the course of your life. Sometimes for people, the way they process that is that maybe there's a lack of loyalty. I'm only going to be here for a couple of years, so what does it matter? Well, I can tell you it matters. Because in life there are building blocks. And we scaffold our experience. And what I experience today influences who I am tomorrow. So even if there's an idea that I may change my career a number of times, being loyal while you're at an institution, while you're at a company, is important. And being loyal afterwards is important. You'd be surprised how people pay attention. I've worked for some people that have been terrific. I've worked for some people that it was a challenge, probably partially because of me, partially because of them. But when I look at my situation, I've never worked a day in my life that I wasn't grateful for having the opportunity to work. And those people that I worked for and worked with were instrumental. So being loyal, even after you separate, is meaningful. If you leave a place and you go into a new place, and the first thing you do is engage in behavior that may be critical of where you came from, what do you think that sets up for people in their minds? Wow, this person was with that company for 3, 4, 5 years, and I haven't heard them say one good thing about them. What are they going to be saying about us? So loyalty is important. It's ethical and it's important. I kind of had a fast and steady mindset when I was working with people. You'll find that when you're moving through your career in leadership positions, you're exposed to more and more and more. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to work with very smart, very creative people, you're going to have differing opinions. And I worked in environments where I was lucky because we could have really healthy discussion and debate. We could have different opinions. And then at the end of the day, a decision would be made and you would go forward. And the only rule I had for the people I worked for was, don't ask me to do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical. Anything short of that, then I appreciate the ability to engage in a conversation. I appreciate being heard around what my thoughts are. But at the end of the process, when a decision is made, that the people that have the authority to make that decision make, then it's my job to publicly support that decision, as long as it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical. I appreciate having been part of the conversation. I appreciate you listening to me, but if you decide to go in a direction, even if I don't agree with it, and it's happened more than once in my career, publicly, around the idea of being loyal, it's my job to support that position. Around the idea of leadership, I've been fortunate, as was stated, to be involved in a lot of leadership programs. I've also taught leadership. I've been able to teach ideas of leadership at the undergraduate and graduate level in college, both at Cupid College, at the University of Rochester, and at Syracuse University. So I've enjoyed those opportunities to talk about leadership. There's a question that comes up often about leadership, and it's, are leaders born or are they made? And I can tell you, having been a part of some of the best programs around leadership that we have in this country, and having researched the subject personally, I don't have an answer. Spend years trying to figure those things out, and I don't have an answer. Some are born, some are made. But it can be either. So anybody has the potential to be a leader. We talked about a little bit when I was younger. I played a lot of sports when I was younger. I was never the best player on any team I was ever a part of. I was serviceable, is the way my father used to put it. You're serviceable. You can get the job done, but I wasn't blessed with great natural ability. But there were teams I was on that I wasn't even a starting player that I was voted a captain for. In my own mind, sometimes that didn't make sense to me. Wouldn't you want the best player to be the captain of the team? But as I grew older and I had more experience, it started to make a little bit more sense to me that one of the things that you want from those leaders is people, again, that can look beyond their own personal interests and hopefully advance those team goals. And one of the things I've said over my career is that if there was anything that I believe personally I've ever been good at, it's the ability to somehow identify good people, bring them together, set some common goals, develop buy-in for where we want to go, and help everybody work together to go forward and have a better end product. The folks I work with at the college have heard me say many, many times, I'm a strong believer that all of us together are smarter than any one of us alone. That type of leadership is unique. There's a lot of different types of leadership, but being willing to adopt a leadership philosophy to some degree, that embedded in that philosophy is the idea of bringing in people that are as talented as you can find and surrounding yourself with them. That takes a certain way of thinking, and it takes a certain amount of comfort. There are people that I work with at this college that have specific disciplines that they work in, whether it be in student services, whether it be in finance, whether it be in instruction. They're responsible for certain areas of the institution that are expert in those areas. They're far better in those areas than I am. Some leaders would not be comfortable admitting that, and it's the style. And it's around the same goal. What you want to do is move the institution forward. And there are some times where people might feel like if everybody doesn't think I'm the expert on everything, they will lose confidence in the organization, and they may lose interest in supporting that organization. I just happen to be a firm believer that when you do something like you're the president of a college, in the last 2 days, I've met with 3 different state senators, with a U.S. senator, with the county legislature, with a half a dozen major employers in the Globe region, a lot of very accomplished people. Being able to work with all those people around the interests of this institution and to hopefully get them to understand the importance of what we do and want to support what we're doing around our academic programs and the quality of this college is what I'm vested in. That's what's important to me. To be able to do those things, I have to have people around me that are expert in what they're responsible for doing. And I've been fortunate here, as I was in my former institution, that we have high-quality people around. But again, going back to what we talked about earlier, professional people, ethical, moral people, dependable people, people that look at the greater good, the greater institutional interest beyond their own. So, again, leadership takes a lot of different forms. You'll find, as you're going forward, you'll create your own space, your own time, your own place, your own style. You may be an expert in subject matter. You may become an expert in visioning. You may become an expert in coordinating efforts. But as a leader, for me, for example, it's my need to set the vision for the institution. I do that through involving people, taking in a lot of data, a lot of feedback. Once we set what that vision is for where we want to take this institution into the future, then I have to be able to coordinate efforts with people. I have to be able to bring people around that vision, get them to buy into that vision, and get them to support that. Those are important issues because it's a very difficult time in a lot of areas. Being a publicly funded institution, we're challenged. Dollars are tight. Accountability is higher than ever before. But we have to have and develop a compelling vision for the institution. The way you do that, in my mind, is by involving people. What is it about this place that is unique, that differentiates us from all those other good causes? Why should people buy into Genesee Community College? What is it we can do that nobody else can do as well? And what is the return that we can make on those investments that students make, that the private sector make, that the public sector make? So, establishing the vision, bringing the right people, you've probably heard the phrase, bringing the right people on the bus that support that vision. Finding people as part of your team, as a leader, finding people as part of your team and figuring out how do you put them in positions where they can add the most value. How do you play to their strengths, and how do you compensate from areas that they might be more challenged with? How do you put all the right players on the bus around that shared vision? As you look at leadership, I think you'll find also that some of the things, there's different styles. You'll hear of transformational leaders, you'll hear of transactional leaders. A transformational leader is somebody that's noted for being able to take an organization or a group and really move it to another level. People like John F. Kennedy or Barack Obama, those are transformational type leaders. There's transactional leaders, people that really are barterers. The way I establish my power as a leader is, I'll give you this and you give me that. One of the emerging styles of leadership over the last several years, and I think is particularly suited to us in public higher education, is a mindset of servant leadership. The idea around servant leadership is that we are all in service to a greater good, and that we are here in unique positions with a unique opportunity to make a difference by helping others be the best that they can be. So again, you could have a recurring theme, the greater good. How can we influence the future by helping people be better? All of you, as the students and the future graduates of this institution, are our contribution. What we can do to help you be successful is what fulfills our interest. So it's a different type of leadership, excuse me, but it's one that's very important. And again, it's one that lends itself to making sure that you know that you should take advantage of that. Not everybody looks at these matters the same way that some of us do. Our investment of our time and our talent and our treasure is in you. That's where we get our great satisfaction, is in helping students to achieve your goals. You'll find in your life that every place that you come across, that's not always the case. So if you're lucky enough to be in one that it is the case, take full advantage of that and make sure that you're really fully present and fully engaged in this experience. It's not just what happens in the classroom, it's the full experience. It's the people you meet. It's the opportunity to be involved in events, community service that you may be doing for the first time. All those experiences that you have in front of you here at this institution, tremendously important that you take advantage of them. And again, those things will show through as you move into and through your career. Those are the types of things that you might not realize it, but people watch. And people are perceptive, and they'll see it. And even if you don't see it yourself, the same way, like I said, I didn't see in myself why I would be the captain of this particular team or that particular team. Other people did see that. And I was fortunate for having that experience. But stay open to the opportunities. I've had two extraordinary leaders that I worked with in my professional career. One of them was my past president, who said to me, "You can do more." I never saw myself, frankly, thinking about the presidency of a college. It just wasn't something I was thinking about if you go back 20 years ago. And over time, she convinced me that by moving out of my comfort zone, because I came into college initially as a finance person, I had a financial background. I was the chief financial officer for the college, and she saw something in me that she wanted me to be able to do more. And she knew I would want to do more. So she challenged me to go into more of academics and to teach. She challenged me to go back to the University of Rochester as an adult with 3 children and a full-time job as a vice president with a lot of responsibility, and take on the additional task of earning a doctorate so that I could position myself to do more, to give back more. If you're lucky enough to find yourself around somebody that has that type of mindset, stay close to them. Learn from them. Take advantage of what they can share with you. She challenged me, and I'm better for it. And the other person that I worked for was a woman who I first entered higher education working for. I was a young man in my late 20s, maybe mid-20s. And she was a very experienced person. And she said, "If you could find it yourself, Jim, to learn to give credit when things are going well, and to take responsibility when things aren't going as well, even if it's got nothing to do with you, if you can find it in yourself to do that, then the people that you work with will see that, and they will appreciate that, and they will support you." And that was an incredibly valuable lesson for a young guy. The idea of not having to worry about taking the credit for everything that went well, but to give it to the people that I was working with. And when things went not as well as we'd hoped, to stand up and say, "This is my responsibility," and to take that on. People that maybe were truly closer to the real responsibility for why something didn't go so well, they're not uninformed. They know what they were doing. They know that they maybe had more culpability, if you will. But the fact that you were willing to stand up and take responsibility for them as a leader made a tremendous amount of difference. So those are just 2 little things that, for 2 women that I've worked for in my professional life that have stayed with me for 30 years, and they've served me very, very well. How are we doing that time?
Now we'll actually enter the Q&A portion of the, we do have about 7 minutes for questions, so if I could just ask anyone that has a question, please raise your hand and someone will help you with that question.
What are the greatest challenges of your job today?
Oh, the greatest challenges of my job. One of the great things about this college, and I've been involved with a lot of colleges, I'm a middle stage evaluator, which means I go to other colleges and I review those colleges to determine whether or not they're going to have accreditation. And what accreditation means is that our credits transfer, that our degrees have weight, that they have merit. That allows us to receive financial aid that students benefit from. Without that accreditation, we don't have anything. So I say that because my experience goes well beyond the few colleges, the 3 colleges I've worked for. I have experience with dozens of colleges as a reviewer. The great thing that we have at this college is the challenges that we do have are real. I've been to places where the challenge is that people don't have a shared vision, that people don't have passion for what they do, that people don't see the importance of what they're doing. Those would be challenges that I think would be far more difficult to deal with than the challenges we have. The challenges that we have are real. State funding is stressed. So we don't have as much financial support to do as many things as we would like to do. That's a challenge. Local support is high, but financial ability of our sponsor to contribute is stretched. So that's a challenge. So those are real challenges. And as the economy of this state improves, will improve in those areas. The economy of this state will improve by us providing a first-rate education to well-educated, solid citizens that go out and are the next generation of leaders in our community. We're fortunate. We've got the right people here to do that. It would be much harder if we didn't have the right people. So the challenges are real. They're probably more than anything around the current fiscal condition that we find the state and the local economy in. But I think that we've got the right people to work through that and to make sure that we continue to be a great option for students. So that, I would say that's probably the biggest challenge.
Question?
How do you identify strengths in team members?
Well, identifying strengths in team members often has to do with observation. When you go through a lot of academic programs and you do a lot of research, you learn different tips and tools for how to collect data, synthesize data, make meaning of that data, and help that influence your decision making. Those same types of attributes you apply to these situations. So when I come in and I look at the folks that I'm working with, you identify how they work with others. All those things that we talked about before. Are they dependable? Can they see beyond their own personal interests? And when I say personal interests, it doesn't necessarily have to be just them personally, but maybe it's about something they really believe in. Maybe it's about something they really want to do. But can they see beyond that focal range and look at how does this compare to the larger issues that we're trying to accomplish? So really, observation, getting to know people, listening to people, observing how they work with others, those are the types of things that help you understand. I can tell you I've been here for, this is my 2nd year. If you believe you're good at working with people and identifying strengths of people, and I believe, as I said, that I've been pretty lucky in that way that I've done that well, one of the things you have to do is be patient. Don't rush to judgment. Don't necessarily take that first impression and assume that that's really the way things are. So you have to be patient. You have to listen to people. You have to get to know. And you can learn a lot more, and this is especially important if you're a president, from watching how people treat each other versus how they treat you. As the president of college, you talk about it's not a challenge, but it's an adjustment. You're very public. Every day that I'm out in the public, every day that I'm awake, I represent this college, and I'm very mindful of that. And I take that very seriously. But there are times when you're in a position like this that people might treat you differently than they would if you weren't in this position. So you have to be aware of that. So just sometimes not so much observing how people treat you, because I can tell you, as the college president, they tend to treat you pretty good sometimes. It's not all bad. So, but how they treat each other and other people is important to watch.
What's one of the hardest decisions you've had to make as a president or a leader?
I think prioritizing, many good ideas. There's always more good ideas and more need than there is the ability to fulfill. So being able to go through a process of prioritizing those types of things, but then making sure that you take the time to work with people. When you want to have an open process, and we've tried to adopt in my 2 years here, a little more transparent, more open process about what we're doing, why we're doing certain things. Well, that involves people. And if you ask people to get invested, and they really dedicate their heart and soul into trying to move an issue forward, and then unfortunately, because of all of the conditions that you're surrounded by, you may not be able to go in that direction at that point, that's hard for people to hear. And as a leader, you have to make sure that you invite them to the table, that you involve them in a conversation. Take the time to circle back and to when things aren't going to work out the way they had hoped, that you give them the respect of trying to explain to them why. If you're going to ask them to continue to be a team member and continue to come up with ideas and continue to contribute, it can be very disenfranchising if you ask them and then all of a sudden the answer is no. It's a little easier sometimes to hear if you can explain the context and why you might not be able to do it at a certain point. So taking time, but I'd say probably the biggest challenge is not being able to do everything, because there's things that we absolutely not only want to do, but should be doing, that we can't at times do as well as we'd like because of the conditions that we're faced with.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, my name is Deborah McKnight, and I just want to thank you, sir, for the times that I've seen you walking and passing, and you have the most beautiful smile. Also, I want to take this opportunity because you were talking about leaders and your faculty, and I don't remember, I wrote you a letter about one of your leaders here, and I have this opportunity because a lot of people don't know the different areas that they can go to for help, and being that I have this opportunity, because this leader that you have here, she went beyond her duties of helping me in the math department, because I'm back as a non-traditional student, so it was very difficult for me when I came to this college. And this leader that I'm talking about, she goes beyond. She sees people in the hallway. If they looking down, she have a kind word to say to them. And because of her, I mean, I don't know how many people have seen me, but my confidence level have came from here to up here. You would notice I changed in my dress code because of this leader that you have. She have took my confidence to a different level. And I just want to take this opportunity right now to recognize this leader because she is very important to me. And if y'all get to know her, she will be important to you too. And at the end of this presentation, if I can have a picture with you and Ms. Margaret here, this is the leader that I'm talking about.
Well, let me say this just on that subject, though. First of all, thank you for saying that, because the people that work at this college throw themselves into this. They give so much more than you'll see in some places. And in business and in life, one of the ways that you advance is called differentiation. How are you different than somewhere else? Well, I can tell you, I've been involved. I worked at Syracuse University. I've attended the University of Rochester. We're never going to compete in some ways around the scope and the size and the magnitude of those institutions. But we compete extremely well when you look at the people that we have here. That's how we differentiate. We have terrific people that care about you and about your success. That's not always the case. So you're very lucky to be in a place where that happens. And community college students for 25 years, it's amazing to me how many go on, including myself, my wife, we have both graduated from UNF, to another institution. And sometimes you only appreciate what you have once you've gone on. And I've talked to literally hundreds of students over the years that have come back and said, oh, I can't believe how great it was at Onondaga or at Gen C. And then always followed up by, why aren't you a four-year school? Which is not part of our mission and our charge, but they really appreciate it after they've seen what else is out there. So don't let the opportunity slip by. And then one last thing on people. One of the things I've been successful about, and I've always said, I would rather hire somebody for their attitude and train the aptitude that I need in them. It's incredibly hard sometimes to change what a person really is at their core. It can happen, but it's a real project. But if you find somebody that's got the right attitude, that cares about the right things, that shares in what you believe is important, you can train them on the technical aspects of what they need to do much easier than you can change their attitude. So if you're positioned someday to hire folks, or if you currently are, it's always worked for me. Hire for attitude, and you can develop the aptitude.
Again, on behalf of Genesee Community College, First Services, and the student body, along with faculty and staff, we really appreciate today's workshop and hearing from Dr. Simon. We do have a general appreciation for Have a good day.
Hey, Doodle-doo. How are you? What's up? How are you? I'm good. How are you? Good. Good, good, good.
Thank you.